hope, they actually was able to do. So I was pretty impressed by that.
Yeah, that's great news. That's actually really good news. But so I know that as a developer and engineers and the people that are here, and the game is built to frustrate you. Have you seen any of the players get really frustrated with the game?
Frustration might have come from not about services, more like a little issue with Wi-Fi. Probably that was probably the issue. Otherwise, not so much frustration, but I could see people really digging into really solving problem. And then, of course, sometimes they get stuck, and that's why we are here to help. But
Right.
not so much frustration, like
Right.
I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Like, I mean, Carmen always tells me he wants to get me a T-shirt with a little rabbit and a rabbit hole on it. He says, because every time I find a problem, I try to solve it, it just takes me down this rabbit hole, and I don't get back from it at all. Well, thank you very much for taking your time with us and giving us a little bit more insight into the AWS services. We really enjoyed it, so thank you very much. And good luck with the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks. So there you have it, one of our essays talking all about what the players are going through. As you heard it, they're getting to learn new services, they're accepting their new constructs, that everything is serverless in the game, or most of it is serverless in the game. And it seems like they're fairly familiar with these processes and how they should be using it as well. Now, for the next couple of seconds, I want to just take a minute and ask our control board to put the actual game day scoreboard on the display. We have the scoreboard at the back here, and you can see who our players are that is actually in the lead. And you can see that a bunch of our players are actually racking up a ton of points. You'll see that next to each of the game scores, there's also a trend. And the trend actually just tells you that how the player is actually doing, right? So if you can see, for example, one is doing a positive trend and the one team is doing a negative trend. And when they do see this trend, they need to adjust or change something that'll make it or fix the game for them. So if they see a negative trend, it means that something in the game is not working the way that we intended it to, and we're penalizing them for that. One example was in the Where's My Website module, where you had to do health checks against the containers or against the EC2 instances, and if those health checks weren't completed successfully, we were deducting points every time that health check failed. So players need to make sure that they keep an eye on the trend of their application and their scores. And as you can see, these players are really starting to pull ahead, and some of them are really putting some distance in between them because as they get more secure with the actual deployments of the modules and how they fix the modules, they can really rack up a lot of points really, really quickly. So the pointing system has been working well. We've seen guys literally trying to spy on some of the other teams and trying to find out how they're solving the problems. So we've been having some really creative problems and creative ways to solve those problems. So I think we do have some time for you guys to see what's actually happening on the floor. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give you a bit of a wide screen and a wide shot of what everything's happening, and you can see the busy, buzzy bustle of what's actually happening on the floor. So as you can see, we have people just standing around their desks and going crazy, and we have a little button that can ask for help if they're running into things. So you'll see the AWS engineers and the solutions architects standing next to the tables as well, and we'll be ready for them and help them whenever they get into trouble. So one of our solutions architects, Mike Deck, is going to join me on the stage in just a second. And we'll be talking about some of the stuff that he has been doing with the game day engine as well. Mike, join us up on the stage quickly here for a sec. What's up, Mike?
What's going on?
I'm well. Grab the mic there and let's do a quick interview.
Mike.
Yeah, you got the mic, Mike? Right, Mike, so we're doing a live Twitch stream, and I just literally grabbed Mike off the side of the
I just
floor.
got back, yep.
Yeah, he just got back. Like, Mike is one of the, he's like he's a real cloud ninja. He's just like the cloud ninja. We always never see him, right?
That's very true, yeah.
It's true. So when we do see him, we have to like grab onto him, right? Because he's one of those knowledge repositories that you just constantly want to tap into. Like, I've known very few people that knows as much about Marvel movies and Stargate and Star Trek like this guy.
It's one of the talents that I do have is obscure knowledge about random stuff.
Exactly, but that's a good talent to have.
Yeah.
It's something we all want, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just what we should have.
Yep.
So I've been talking about the emotions that the players go through, right? And I know that you had a large involvement in the game day engine. What was your involvement with the game day engine?
We did a little bit of the security stuff. So it was was an interesting, coming from last year and this year, we redid the engine, so it was more of a security jam, not security jam, but security focused side of it, to make sure that people are doing the right thing and securing their environment to keep it secure and make sure that no other players are trying to break in, and that obviously bad actors can't break in either. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we sometimes get that, right? I mean, is it always just about preventing that, or is it also about trying to mitigate that if something like that happens?
So there's blast radius. You want to have auditing on, so if someone does get in and you have, for example, S3 log shipping somewhere else, so that if someone does get in, you actually have an audit trail of what's going on, and you can figure out what they did if they did get in. So, and then making sure your permissions, for example, like IAM, are scoped down just enough to where if they do somehow get into an instance that has a role, they can't break everything in your account.
Right, so you don't want your people or access given to your account to be such a wide access that it can just
you don't want star.star.
Yeah, that's not great, right? So what does star.star mean?
You can literally do anything in the account that's not the root account. So you can basically spin up instances, delete instances, spin up some Bitcoin mining boxes, delete all your backups if they're in the same account, and there's a policy that allows you to delete wherever your backups are.
So you've been talking about star.star and policy. What are these? These are related to IAM, right?
IAM policies, yes.
Right. So IAM is our way for securing access and limiting access in AWS.
Yep. So you can have granular controls that allow you to scope in exactly what you want. For example, for an EC2 instance where you want it only to have access to, let's say, Dynamo, or you want it to be able to spin up boxes for automation for your CI/CD pipeline and that type of stuff.
Right. And how granular can those?
You can get very granular. I mean, so, depending upon the service you're using, you can have conditional IAMs where you can say only API calls from this source IP address, which could be your data center, or you can also scope it that, if someone does have access, for example, to launch EC2 instances, they can't launch C48XLs and spend whatever that costs per hour if it's Windows or Microsoft. So you can scope it and say, I only want the developers to spin up, M1 larges or M2 or C4 larges based on, whatever the use is.
Right. So how does all of this knowledge translate to our game day players?
So, I mean, part of it is that we lock down the IAM roles so that they can only launch what they need to, but then when they're spinning up services, they need to realize what they need to provision so that they can launch services and stuff like that in there.
Okay, great. So are you happy about game day this year? Do you think it's going well?
I do not like the same game day every year over year, so anytime we change it up, and this year was a massive lift, and shout out to everyone that worked on it, especially the back-end team. Every year we're bringing something different and exciting, and it keeps us on our toes, and we're using way more services to kind of expand the ecosystem that Game Day is touching, that I assume that all the players love, because we're using some stuff that's not traditional, like Lex and Poly, as opposed to just EC2, S3, Dynamo, Redis Cache, and stuff like that. So it's exciting to see a lot of the new services being used in the new Game Day.
Yeah, one of the things that seems to be coming up in all of our interviews is that there's so much usage of serverless this year, right? And I mean, we've never seen that amount of serverless usage in any of our projects in the past either. And this is the first event that I've been involved in that so many of our functions and our services and our APIs are actually being done completely in a managed fashion. And in a completely scalable manner.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I mean, it's pretty amazing to see where we've come the last 2 or 3 years when we started the first Game Day, where it was EC2, compute, and now going all the way to API gateway, serverless, where there isn't really anything backing it. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, Mike, thank you very much. I'm not going to take your time away from you for much longer.
Go on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, people have been walking up to the booth asking for help and stuff while we're actually live on TV, which has been a pretty interesting.
Hopefully you can help them with whatever they're asking.
Yeah. The next person that's going to ask a question, I'm just going to call him up. Right, that's great. Right. So, Erin on the floor, are you there? Can you see us? Can you hear us? I don't think she can.
I can hear you. We're waiting for the next players to come up and talk to us. Oh, here they are.
There we go. So Erin on the floor is going to...
Come and join me. Oh, watch out, because there's a camera right there. Come over here so you guys can be on screen. Oh, I'm sure this is sorted out really well. So what are your names?
Chris.
Chris?
My name is Hardik.
Hi, Hardik. So how did you guys hear about Game Day?
One of my colleagues did it last year and recommended it.
All right, and you?
Yeah, I guess same thing. The company that I work with, they participate in Game Day every year, so that's how I come to know about it.
So do you work at the same company?
No, different companies, different continents altogether.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were just sort of randomly assigned to teams. So.
Oh, that's great. So your company has previously come to Game Day and played and participated. Did they give you any advice on how to kind of attack the game and crush your opponents?
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't? Not at all?
Yeah, and then my colleague, he's on another team and they're winning, so
Oh.
obviously he kept the advice to himself.
Oh no! And what about you? Did you hear about how Game Day was played before? Or
yeah,
any
so
strategy?
my colleague had attended the first ever game day that was organized, and he told me that it was easy,
Oh.
but it turned out to be much more complex. But it's fun actually. We get to learn a lot of new things altogether.
All right, great. So what were you hoping to learn by coming to Game Day?
Really just to get some hands-on experience, so like some with debugging and just figuring out problems.
What sort of problems? Hands-on specifically for any service or anything like that?
Pretty much like anything involving EC2 or VPCs or containers or lambdas, and when they break, trying to figure out what's wrong with them and how to figure out what's wrong with them and fixing them.
So did you actually achieve that during Game Day yet?
We fixed a few things.
Did you? But did you get to kind of dig in and troubleshoot the things that you
Oh yeah,
anticipated?
definitely.
Okay.
We hit a few walls because the accounts were somewhat restricted, so the solutions we came up with didn't always work.
I'm sure that would never happen in real life, right?
No, absolutely not.
And what about you? What did you hope to learn by coming to Game Day?
Yeah, I guess I was hoping to get some hands-on with some new technologies that we don't get to use in day-to-day working life. The major things that I learned today was Amazon Athena and recognition, as well as Amazon Lex. That was a wonderful thing. That was actually I was looking forward to learn in the reinvent schedule.
Oh, really? So from these learnings, what are you going to take out of here and try outside of Game Day?
Yeah, I guess I'll just convince my clients over to moving more and more stuff to AWS, given the huge potential and the technology that it serves. So some of them are still using the legacy technologies. So I guess it's a nice thing with me having the knowledge that I can convince them.
Yeah. And so what module are you guys on right now?
We're kind of split up, so we're doing a few of them at a time.
Okay, so which one are you working on?
Which one am I working on? We're working on one. It's like I don't remember the names of them now.
Well, you can tell us approximately what the module is.
We're working on one where we're fixing a code deploy pipeline that's broken.
So it's a CI/CD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another one where we're,
for those people out there who don't know what CI/CD is, it's a continuous integration and continuous either development or deployment.
yeah, and then what's the other one we're working on with the getting the API proxy front end working and pulling.
Is that the one that you're working on right now?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
both are working
Okay.
on the same.
So did you form a strategy on how to kind of approach it, kind of tackling the module for the API?
Yeah, so I'm basically working on the CI/CD pipeline, connecting code pipeline to GitHub and having those things work. And he's working on getting the API and the shared secret key and the parameters group working in synchronization.
So did you know each other beforehand?
No, we were randomly assigned to the group.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was nice knowing all the people over here.
Okay. All right, great. Well, is there anything that you would tell your past selves on how to kind of approach the module that you're working on right now, or any of the previous modules that you've worked on?
I guess just read the instructions and the readmes carefully.
Nobody's ever said that in real life, right? Because in development projects, you kind of want to dive in, right?
Yeah, so it is fun. Like you get to know new things, and as he said, have the readmes into place.
Oh, right, that's right. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
Thank you so
we
much.
really appreciate it, and I hope you really are enjoying Game Day and you crush the other teams. All right?
Well, we'll
So
try.
We'll do. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, and back to you, Mandis on the stage. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right. So thank you very much, Aaron. I really appreciate that, and welcome
Yeah,
back,
thank you.
Dave, to our podium. We
thanks for
spoke to you a
Thanks,
little bit
Manus.
earlier. So today, right now, I'm going to step out of my host kind of persona for just a second, and hope that we can actually become a little bit of a fireside chat situation. What about that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Where's the fire? Let's
I
crack
mean,
open a
I
cold
tried.
one.
I tried
Just
having a
relax
little
together.
fire on here, right? And the security officers were just like not having
that
it.
wasn't happening.
Oh.
Okay,
It wasn't
that's too
happening.
bad.
I really tried. It wasn't the best, the best
All right,
idea.
At least you tried.
Yeah, we're in a very flammable situation, so that wouldn't be great, right?
No. Yeah, I'm surprised actually you kind of forget that you're inside of a tent right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if the viewers at home know this, but
I don't know if the viewers have kind of fully gotten that, but yeah, we are completely in a tent. But you know what? The guys don't want us to call it a tent. They're very adamant that we should call this a mega structure.
oh,
that's a dope megastructure.
It's a dope megastructure.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, I mean, earlier this morning there was a little bit of wind, and the projectors are suspended from the top of the dome,
Right.
so they were swaying a little bit in the wind, which is pretty funny. A lot of people kind of saw that as a projector function or feature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's just the.
it was just the wind. So we're that high tech that even the wind just works with us.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
Well, and I understand this megastructure is good if the wind is up to 90 miles an hour. So
I
as
think
long as
so.
we're under that, we're fine.
Yeah,
Totally
yeah. I
fine.
mean, that's a pretty strong wind that needs to work to blow for us to actually get anything, right? So one of the people on Twitch just asked, is it an auto-scaling megastructure? Well, I don't know if it's auto-scaling, but I do know that there's like 3 of them next to each other, and they just popped up overnight, so it might be.
Yeah, it was a elastic megastructure.
It's an elastic megastructure in the pipeline right here, right?
Yeah,
We got that.
yeah.
So Dave, we spoke about your open data stuff and everything like that, but you and I have also worked together on some automation things and a lot of big data stuff in the past as well. Have you played around with all of the automating services like Code Pipeline and Code Commit in AWS?
You know, I think one of the challenges for a solutions architect, for anybody at AWS, but probably especially for solution architects, is the number of services that we release, the breadth and the depth of the services. So, you know, actually, I hadn't really touched Code Pipeline or Code Deploy until I started playtesting this game a couple of months ago, and I got my hands on, I think your module that you built for this involves a lot of Code Pipeline. That was really the first time I got exposed to that, which was challenging, but it was good. And it was a good way to like get thrown in and learn it. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and we specifically did that, right? We specifically introduced code services that we don't usually work with on a very general basis. So one of the things while I was building this module was just to kind of see how well integrated Git and our IAM policies and security policies and everything was with Code Commit. And we just spoke to Mike, which just told us a little bit more about the security aspect of IAM and AWS. Have you seen certain of those type of security integrations in all of our other services as well?
I mean, you know, security is the top priority for any AWS service. You know, and for everything we do at AWS is about security and protection of what the customers are doing and operating inside of the accounts. So yeah, I mean, it is really. I mean, so yes, you know what I mean? I think you could talk like for days and days, and there's specialist essays that just focus on IAM and building policies to integrate.
Yeah, it's a complex service, right?
It is a complex service, and sort of more so than sometimes people realize, I guess. But it is used to secure and protect, you know, all aspects of a customer's account.
And it's a really important service because it basically becomes the backbone of your security in the AWS account, right? And your AWS environment. One of the Twitch users are asking us quickly, they ask, how many modules are we playing today, and how much time do we have to actually participate in the game?
Yeah, so how many modules are there? Yeah, that's like a really good question.
5.
5 modules.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's
There's
a very
5
simple
modules.
answer to that. Very good question.
Yeah, you can tell that I've been like focused on one module and not all of them.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's 5 modules. In each module, there's a number of checkpoints that the players have to achieve. So they'll solve, you know, one puzzle. They'll build one component, and then it'll build on and build on. And then once they've reached a certain point that module is done, they can move on to the next one.
So these checkpoints, do they give them a score? Does it work like a point per minute thing? How do these scoring mechanisms work?
Yeah, there's multiple ways to earn points in GameDay or lose points in GameDay. So there could be an event where you do something and you get sort of, you know, some influx of points. There could be sometimes like there's some modules where you run a web server and you have to keep it operational, and with that you'll earn points, you know, consistently over time. And then once you reach a checkpoint, you get a huge sum of points. So,
right. And the negatively affecting points is also important, right? I mean, we had a team that was in the lead for ages, and all of a sudden they unlocked a new module, they started playing this module, and all of a sudden they just stopped, you know, getting all these points, and they were deducted points for making the thing, building it wrong. And then you're in second place now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that might have been my module. So the big data module, like it asks you a series of questions about the data set, and if you get the questions wrong, you lose points. So
a lot of points?
A lot of points. So if you guess wrong, and it's, you know, it gets harder and harder, so you lose more and more points. But we found that's what kind of makes it exciting. It's not that you can earn a ton of points; it's that there's this risk of losing them. So
yeah.
I don't know. That's my weird philosophy. We're in Las Vegas, so
yeah,
you know,
sure enough. You use it or lose it, basically, right? That's true. So we were talking about like scalability and a lot of serverless things today and containerization. Have you had any thoughts around how companies can go from like a monolithic application that they used to have into maybe a modernized approach to AWS?
You know, there's probably not enough time on this or enough interest from everybody for me to go into that in super detail. But, you know, I think that a lot of customers start out with, you know, just taking little bits of an application and moving it, pieces at a time, or picking something that's like a real simple. I was actually just doing a session with a customer where they were talking about their approach to moving from they had a data processing pipeline that they ran on servers on-prem. And they eventually got it to be running as a series of Lambda functions running in AWS. But they described what was interesting about how their approach was that they moved, first what they did was like forklifted the application into AWS. So it was running in servers in EC2 just the same way that was running in their on-prem data center.
Yeah.
And then after that, what they did was they started to sort of pull it apart and develop new features by stripping it out and creating Lambda functions from it. And eventually they had this completely serverless pipeline for processing data.
Nice.
It's really interesting. This session was for the Pacific Northwest National Lab. It was the serverless 318 session.
Awesome.
It's really interesting to see how they're building that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So can the viewers back home and the players today go and see that session online?
Yeah, as I understand it, all of the sessions that are happening here at reInvent this year are available, 24 to 48 hours after they occur. They'll be videotaped and streamed online. So that's it's a great way to catch up with that stuff. If you're not here or you couldn't get to a session that you wanted to, you can come back and watch it.
Right. So Dave, how long have you been with AWS?
I've been at AWS for 3 years.
Right. And if you think about who you were and how you kind of approach technology and building applications 3 years ago and today, what would the major differences be?
I mean, so I've been at AWS for 3 years, but I've been using AWS since like 2008, probably 2009, when I first spun up an EC2 instance in an airport. And it was, it's changed a lot, you know what I mean? I think for me personally, my interests have changed a little bit. When I joined AWS, I was really focused on DevOps, tooling, and automation, which is how we did some work together, when I had started here. But then I got really excited by data and open data. Sort of like caught that bug, and so for the last year, I've just been really heads down. I mean, the service I work with the most in the last year is S3.
Right.
So that's what's also been interesting about coming to this is sort of picking my head up and looking around and being like, oh yeah, the code pipeline services, this image recognition service, all these other things have come out, and having to learn about those and making sure I'm up to date on all the kind of exciting stuff that's happening.
Yeah, that's actually a good time to segue. One of the viewers on Twitch asked that the AWS certification, specifically the Pro Certs for the AWS Solutions Architects, they were asking whether we kind of feel that it'll become more difficult to achieve these certifications as we launch more services. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I have the Pro Cert. I struggled through it. You know what I mean? But will it get harder? Yeah, the breadth and the depth of the services does make it challenging, keeping up with that. But the certification team does a really good job of keeping those certs sort of, focused and applicable to what people are actually doing in the field.
Yeah.
I think you'll also see a number of specialist certifications coming out. Like, we have the DevOps certification was one, and there's a networking certification, and there's a couple of other, I would imagine, specialized certifications in the works that would help with some of that, because I think, over time, is it going to be reasonable? I think, back in 2008 or even 2014, when I joined AWS, it was pretty reasonable to expect someone to have like a pretty good knowledge of, 30 or 40 services. But now with over,
I mean, I did my
level.
I did my Pro Cert last year at reInvent, so basically a year ago today, right? And I got it, yay me. But I mean, thank you very much. I mean, even that, it was a difficult test, right? And at that point, I've been working with Amazon for like 2 years, so I knew all these services really well, and it's a difficult certification to get. And I think as we do add more services, I guess the complication level will go up a little bit. But as you said very rightfully, we have these specific specialist certifications, but I think is going to become more popular under our customers and our trusted engineers because they would want to rather focus on their domain-specific knowledge and be seen as experts in those realms.
Yeah, and I think that's the reality. I mean, I think that customers shouldn't get the idea that like if they're not using the entirety of the AWS services that they're not doing it right. I mean, most customers will focus on, and most engineers will focus on one or two services that they work with and get really deep on and be able to build really great stuff. And then you just work in a great team, with other people. So I'd say for me, I have like a 100 level knowledge of a lot of different AWS services, but then when it comes to a couple, I can go really deep. And then when it comes to other ones, I'm just going to reach out to you, Mandus. So.
Well, yeah, cool. So I want you to stay just here. You don't go anywhere, but we're just going to quickly go over to our Aaron on the floor, who has a couple of other players that really want to tell this story and want to give us a little bit of information. So Aaron on the floor, over to you.
Thank you, Mandus at the desk. I am here with Christopher and Jeff. They're some of the players. So first and foremost, the most important question I'm going to ask during this interview is, what is your team name?
Our team name is We'll Work for Points.
Oh, great. So are you?
We're trying.
Okay, great.
We are getting points.
Okay.
There are points involved.
So how did you each hear about Game Day?
Actually, I didn't hear about it until yesterday.
Oh.
I found out through one of the people in one of my Discord channels about AWS, and they sent me the links to the YouTube videos and everything else, and it looked really cool.
All right, so did you prep beforehand? Did you watch old videos and things like that?
I prepped a little bit, not very much. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take the skills that I have today and see how I do.
Oh yeah, I think that's a great approach. Okay, and what about you? How'd you hear about Game Day?
I had met a guy that had done one of the other game days and knew that it was coming up at reInvent, so I wanted to take a shot at it. So registered as soon as I could.
Did he give you any tips on how to
He
sneak
wanted
in
to, but I wanted to go in as cold as I could because I just wanted to see how I could do.
Okay.
I didn't want any tips or tricks. I just wanted to come in and see how well I could do.
Oh, that's awesome. So what did you hope to learn today?
Pretty much I wanted to find where my weak areas were, right? And definitely
Did you find
found
them?
some. Yes.
So like where?
So we were using recognition, which I've actually never used before. So that opened up a whole new door for me and learned quite a bit. And I actually got it fully working, which was pretty awesome.
Oh, right. So what's your favorite part about recognition?
Well, that it works. I don't know. I mean, I think
I guess
it's really
your experience of learning it
yeah,
is
experience
really
of learning it was really cool. But I think the ability to create your own index of images that you want to be able to recognize and be able to identify them with several different image types, I think it's pretty cool.
And what about you, Jeff? What were you hoping to learn or get out of Game Day?
So my entire experience is working with the Windows platform.
Oh.
So I knew that coming into this, it was going to be Linux instances. So just trying to actually use that knowledge that I have was something I was really looking forward to. And then
And what did you get from that? Did you how did you feel? I don't want to ask leading questions.
Yeah, I felt like I definitely have some stuff that I need to improve on because that's outside of my company that I work for, there's definitely a lot of other places where that would be useful, and I'm not quite there yet. But
I really think Game Day is a really great place to come and kind of get out of your comfort zone and try things that you won't be able to actually do at work, or take the time out of your day and get actually in a situation where you have a goal and just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you guys have a strategy? Has your team formed a strategy about how to tackle these modules as they come up?
Yeah, so we looked at the different modules and tried to find who had certain skill sets that may work better for those, and tried to distribute the load that way. And so we would have maybe 1 to 2 people on each module, and say if there was troubles, then we would kind of do all hands on deck, try to help figure out the issue, help each other out.
All right, so it sounds like, did you guys know each other before coming?
Nope, not at all.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're actually getting to meet strangers and learn how to collaborate with people that you've never met before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really cool because the group that we happened to get paired up with, everybody, super outgoing. So we all got together and just hit the ground running. Even before the session started, we already started planning out what we were going to do because we kind of had an idea of, the types of things that would need to happen. So we got all that planned out before we even started, and then we were able to just start going.
So what's the latest module that you're working on?
Right now I'm working on trying to get a application working through code deploy and the code pipeline. So we're about halfway through that module, and there are some hidden wrinkles in the middle of it.
So this is like the CI/CD module right now. Have you ever used code pipeline before?
Not code pipeline.
Oh, okay.
For everything for work, we had started a while ago, so we're using Jenkins for that before code pipeline had actually come out. So it's exciting to get to try that out and see what the Amazon offering actually has, because I don't get to do that at work.
Oh yeah, and what about you? What's the module that you worked on?
So the last one I did was recognition. We also worked on, what was it before that? Just building the website, getting that put out, fixing all the bugs, and then setting up the auto scaling and trying to have it self-heal.
So was that the get your website up and running module?
Yes.
Yep. What was your approach with that one? What did you start off doing?
So the first thing I did was actually build the EC2 instance and install the code, get the Python code up and running, and then after that built the application load balancer, set up the different target groups, to get that all running. And then after we got all that, we tried to then set up an automation for it, you know, build in the user config scripts to automatically build it each time.
Right, so just like in real life, you try it out first and you're like, it doesn't work. Oh, and then it does, which I love to call the roller coaster of emotion of development or DevOps. And then you automate it, so then you don't have to be woken up in the middle of the night like the old days.
That's the goal.
Yeah, please, please. So now that you've been at Game Day, what are you going to take back to your new job? Well, I guess, yeah, your new job after being on the Tiger team and sweeping in and helping us. Hi.
I think for me the biggest thing is just really trying to push using more of the Amazon services because I feel like sometimes we get stuck with just using what's familiar, not necessarily what could work best for us. So trying to expand my knowledge on just AWS services to see what else could work for us.
Maybe just experiment a little.
Yeah, absolutely. Like maybe code pipeline would work out a lot better for our CD pipeline than what we're doing in Jenkins. So it's worth experimenting.
Okay, and what about you?
I think for me, this really tested our ability to read docs and be able to implement based on no other configs, right? So that's really, really useful, especially anytime Amazon comes out with new services. That's the skill you have to have. So I think that's really what's important.
Yeah, and before I started, I actually was a player of Game Day many years ago, and it really taught me, like, when you go into a new project, you kind of don't really know what the best thing is, and so you kind of have to dive in, and then you're like, oh, I should probably read the documentation on this. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. So glad that you guys are having a good, well, at least seems like you guys are having a good time.
Good time.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right, thank you. Bye. All right, and those are some happy players of Game Day, and now back to Mandus on the at the booth.
Thank you very much, Aaron, on the floor. So we have some breaking news right now, Dave. I mean, there's a big controversy happening on our Twitch channel at the moment about earphones, and the earphones that we're wearing, and specifically the earphones.
We might call that earphone gate or headphone gate.
I think we should call it earphone gate, right? Yeah. So the earphones that we're wearing is obviously there for us to communicate because we're not really next to each other.
That earphone is a lifeline between Mandus and Aaron.
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
It's a lifeline. So yeah, we have very sophisticated technology here at Amazon.
Yeah.
And so I think we should start a new controversy.
Yeah,
right?
let's start something new. Let's try to figure something else out here in the Twitch chat.
Yeah, right. So instead of going through the whole thing of earphone gate, so let's say in the Twitch channel, in the chat, let us know what you guys think is the best editor to use, right? Vi or Emacs?
Right. The choice is obvious.
Right, the choice is obvious, right? The choice is very obvious.
Right.
So Aaron worked with you on the big data module, right?
Yeah, so Aaron's a solutions architect based out of New York. I'm in Seattle, but we've worked together for the last couple of years. And Aaron actually wrote all of the code and the logic, all the Lambda functions that are inside of the back end for the big data module.
Right, so she actually did the hard work.
Yeah, all I did was generate a bunch of junk data. So
you wrote the SQL queries, right?
That's correct.
That's basically what we need to do. Right, so it seems that Vi is for sure in the lead right now.
This is ridiculous.
I know that.
Okay,
obviously, the Twitchverse is well educated in the programmers.
Yeah.
They know. They know what's up.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's fair, All right, well then, tabs or spaces, I guess, would be the next question.
Right, okay, so we have a definitive winner. It's obviously Vi over Emacs, right? So yeah.
The results are still rolling in.
No, it's a definitive win for Vi, definitely. I mean, no one has even mentioned Emacs here.
What is the 6 editor?
What is the 6 editor?
Yeah, VI, it's Roman numerals, right?
Oh, yeah. Right, fair enough. You're smart. You're such a smart guy.
I'm probably the only Emacs user on the Game Day team.
So. No, I think we also have Dave.
Dave Duncan.
Yeah, Dave Duncan.
Well, that guy's. Yeah. That guy actually is like half Emacs list himself.
Yeah,
so anyway.
I'm pretty much sure he runs on Emacs.
Yeah.
Like when he wakes up in the morning, he boots Emacs internally, right? Like that's just what he does.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So we have solved the Vi versus Emacs. Vi is the definitive winner. Let's talk about tabs versus spaces, right? We want to know about tabs versus spaces. Santiago, another solutions architect that works with us. He's not here today, but he's a very adamant person about tabs and why you should spaces and why you should be using spaces, right? And I fall in that camp. I think spaces is the better choice.
It doesn't matter to me because when I use Emacs, the mode I'm in chooses whether it's a tab or a space, so I don't have any idea what I use.
I can do that in my text editor as well. It doesn't have I can convert tabs to spaces, but I mean, just if I have it encoded and I open it up in any notepad or any editor, that's the whole point of spaces. It looks the same.
Sure. Well, so, a lot of people were, to take us off these like little religious wars, a lot of people were talking about getting started with serverless. I mean, you wrote a lot of Lambda functions for this game, right? Maybe not. Maybe you didn't, actually.
Wait, did I write a lot of?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a bunch of them.
Are you using Python? That seems to be what people are suggesting. I don't know who this Randall at Amazon is, but he loves Python, right?
Yeah, apparently he loves Python.
Yeah.
And we've been asked we've been talking about serverless a lot, and people are asking how do you migrate or get to a serverless, and everybody seems to be suggesting Python. And yeah, when we built our migration module or our module for Game Day, we actually built ours using 7 different Lambda functions.
Okay.
So we broke each function of the Game Day and the Game Day API endpoints and checkpoints into different spaces. And 5 of them, or well, the majority of them are actually written in Python, and we have one Node.js one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the reason why we have a Node.js one is because we have a client-side application that needs to generate a random name using the Faker library.
Oh, and that's only in Node, or?
Well, you get multiple libraries in
Okay.
different languages, but for it to consistently be descriptive and prescriptive on what the result's going to be, both of the libraries need to be the same.
Oh.
So if we seed it with a certain number and we use the Python library on the other side, we'll get a different result, and then we wouldn't be able to check whether the player actually returned the right result.
Yeah, it's really funny. I think that I guess just the way that serverless works with Lambda functions and also integrating things across a bunch of different AWS services in a distributed system, like how the back end of Game Day runs. You end up with a lot of these kind of polyglot environments. This year we wrote a lot of our module in Python, but in previous years a lot of it was written in Go. I do a lot of Go development, But yeah, you're sort of, what's also interesting too, people are talking about what runtimes and stuff like that are supported inside of a Lambda. But I was really surprised, when I started using it that you can also spawn off processes that run inside of the Lambda. It's just running like a Linux container.
Yeah.
And I thought that when I figured out how to do that, the Lambda team would be really upset or something like that, but they're totally cool with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of customers do that. They'll run, so that's how people have packaged up Go, for example, to run inside of a Lambda. But other languages too, like a C library or whatever you want to bring, you can do that too.
Yeah, we've seen guys run PHP inside of Lambda, right? Which was crazy, but it works.
If it made them happy.
It's all about what makes them happy.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about Lambda, and basically all of these serverless features and functions is that the ability for each team to use whatever language they need to use to make them most productive, right? The Twitch comments are going crazy though. We're getting completely destroyed on the VI versus Emacs
Wait, because people are still saying Vi?
Well, yeah, because
VI?
we're saying Vi instead of VI, and also the fact that you mentioned that it's 6 and stuff like that. I think at this point we need to kind of call out that we have a very dry sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
And that we are sarcastic about a bunch of stuff.
I hope that was obvious.
That was, I'm pretty sure. It's the South African in me, and I don't know why.
Whatever I am.
Yeah, whatever you are, right?
So when you tied together your 5 Lambda functions, were you tying them together with something like step functions? I know some of the teams were using that today.
We investigated step functions, but because we wanted most of our game to actually be triggered by the player, we decided that we'll invoke it with API Gateway.
Yeah.
So we expose an API to the players that while they run their application inside a container, so what we did is we built a queue processor for them in Python, and that queue processor needs to get some of the messages that we post to them in SQS, process that message, determine how long the unicorn has been out on a rental, when it was returned, and then once they have that result, the difference in the rental time, they need to post it to our API. And that would then trigger our endpoints based on the different method and the different param that we specified.
So you tied all your Lambda functions together with API Gateway, which is cool.
So API Gateway is our trigger to Lambda, right? And we actually also have one function that's running on an interval.
Okay.
Because we determined that some of our players might do really, really well, especially some of those that have a lot of CI/CD experience. So we have a constant checking Lambda function that we have almost on a cron type of interface, right? Which is a scheduled function in a scheduled event using CloudWatch events. And it runs every couple of minutes and checks how the progression of each player in the module. And if we do determine that they're doing too well, then we turn on a switch. This is totally
fair.
This is totally fair, by the way. It's just to even out the playing field a little bit, right? So if they're pulling away in front of the other players too far, we flip a switch and we start poisoning their messages. Yeah, they don't know how we're poisoning it, but they need to figure it out, right? And every message that they process that was poisoned, they lose a large amount of points.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then once they kind of get stabilized again, we turn it off. Right.
So did you put anything else in your module? Would you say there's like an Easter egg or anything?
Oh
inside
yeah, we
of
have
it?
tons of Easter eggs in ours. One of our Easter eggs is that we built a little web-based browser game.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you find this little browser game, you can go and destroy incoming missiles with unicorns. So you basically throw unicorns at missiles.
How much of your development time on the game day module you built was spent building a video game that has nothing to do with the game day?
Probably at least like
what
half
percentage?
Of it. Yeah.
Okay, 50%.
About
That's really
about
good.
half of our time building this module was spent on building this Easter egg.
And the rest was discussing the differences between text editors.
Basically, it took us about 2 days just to decide what we're going to call our module and the different parts inside of the module. Because it's so easy to code for Lambda and use code pipeline and those things, it took us like a day to build the module. But all the other things that we wanted to make fun was
that stuff on.
Yeah, what was taking time. We also have like headers and stuff that's hidden inside of our API gateway, so that if you do make a mistake, it'll actually tell you what to do and how to solve it.
Oh wow. Yeah, I wonder if anybody playing is watching.
I hope so, because you know what's happening? We're actually coming to the end of the game day right now, right? We're only about 15 minutes out from when we're going to start the prize giving. So the teams are literally now at the end of the game, and they're in the last leg, and they need to start building and try and keep up that ground that they might have lost in the past, right? So we're hoping that if they are watching, that they're getting some clues and that they're getting some insight, and maybe that last team can maybe overtake another team or whatever, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's always exciting, like when you have a competitive game at the end, you know what I mean? And it looks like we're pretty close with the top couple of teams. So it just could take unlocking a few checkpoints in a module or solving some puzzle to really set aside the game or the winners.
Yeah, I think if the control team can just throw up the leaderboard there for a second for us again, that we can just recap what's going on. It's So Fluffy in the lead that is going up. I think that's 681,000, right? I can't see
I
that
have terrible
far,
eyesight.
Yeah, my eyesight is really bad. But anyway, so it seems like there's only a couple of thousand. So you see these really large numbers in the game day scoring. But if you actually understand it, that's a very small change, right? Like, I mean, one checkpoint in one of our games could give you like 50,000 points.
I had one of the players complain that it looked like we had point inflation in the game. It's just
really?
Like, I mean,
point inflation.
Right. Okay, there's the leaderboard there.
We can see the leaderboard now. So we're on 681,000 and 675,000, right? So that's a very small margin. That's literally like one checkpoint away from overtaking the other team.
Yeah.
That's something as simple as spending less time on the Easter egg and actually just doing some actual work in the game.
And we're getting some questions about, on the feed about what game day is and what we're talking about. Manis will just talk about it all day. But so Game Day is an event at reInvent where we put players into teams and we give them challenges in AWS. So they'll get thrown different kind of things that they have to build or maintain, run a website, find things in a big pile of data, get a CI/CD pipeline going, and they get points for achieving that. And so they're in this room here competing with each other. Sorry, in this megastructure, trying to get the highest amount of points by solving these AWS challenges.
Yeah, it's all about that. The whole thing for us is we want to help our customers and our partners really get engaged with the AWS services, but in a fun way, right? We want to actually help them learn about things without really learning, right? While having fun.
And the other thing is, like, if you were actually doing this like at your regular job, I mean, I would probably immediately quit, because it's like this would be a total disaster to like walk in on your first day and have the website be down and everything broken and the CEO missing or whatever.
Yeah. So for Dave, what Dave's saying is, for the viewers that have just joined us and aren't really sure about what's going on, the whole game day has a theme, and the theme is that we work at a company called Unicorn Rentals, and we're obviously the management, and we just recently lost our CEO. He, for reasons unexplained to us, have absconded with most of our capital, and therefore we got locked out of our building, and we have no access to our existing infrastructure.
That's why we're in the megastructure.
That's why we're in the megastructure, right?
Related to the megastructure.
We are in that megastructure because we got locked out of our actual building to no fault of our own. And we got all these people off the side of the street. They were announcing themselves as developers. So we just grabbed a bunch of them, threw them in the room and said, like, okay, cool, we can't pay you a salary, but we'll pay you in RSUs, right?
Which are these points, which
Yeah.
are definitely going to be worth something at the end of the
Exactly.
day. You can exchange them for the stuffed animals, I think, at the front.
Yeah, right. So right now, I think one RSU is equal to like 0.0001 cents, right?
Yeah, I don't think they have any cash value.
No, not
so,
at all.
yeah,
Absolutely
no.
not. I know.
That's with the point inflation. So.
That's exactly it. But a lucky winner at the end of the day will get a really big trophy with like a name plaque and everything.
Yeah, well, and actually, to be clear, they don't actually get the trophy. We keep that.
We keep the trophy.
Yeah, they put their name on it.
They get the duct tape though, right?
They get to write their name on a piece of tape and put it on the trophy.
Right, and then they get to take the tape back home with them.
No, we take the tape and the.
We take the tape as well. Damn.
Look, they get free food and a stuffed animal.
Yeah,
okay?
they get free food and a stuffed animal. That's a good deal for any developer, right? Yeah. That's another thing. The whole game day, the whole day, we have free drinks, we have free food coming in the whole time, and it's just a big blast while you're just getting hands-on and playing the game and learning about AWS services. The game by design is made to frustrate you though, so don't be surprised if you come to game day next year and halfway through you get really frustrated, because that's people like us are building the game. We want to frustrate you, but we guarantee that you'll have fun.
Yeah. Well, Manus will guarantee that.
I will guarantee that you will have fun in my module. I can't guarantee that for Dave.
That's true.
Yeah. So we have one last interview with some of our players, and Aaron on the floor is ready. So Aaron on the floor, what can this player tell us about his or her experience?
Hello, Mandis on the stage. Thank you very much. Sir, what is your name?
Andrew Page.
Andrew Page. And how did you hear about Game Day today?
It's one of the first things I noticed on the reInvent website when I registered. Is one of the activities that uses sort of that experiential kind of learning. It's something I've always been into.
Oh, that's wonderful. So signing up for Game Day and reading about it, what really pulled you into it, and what did you really hope to learn?
I find that when you attend sessions, you try to take notes, it kind of mixes, you lose it. You know, it's not the type of thing that sticks in your memory as well. When we hear things, we remember about 20% of it. When you actually have to do it, you remember about 75% of it.
Yeah, because you got the tactile feel of what goes right and what goes terribly, terribly wrong.
And it seemed like something that would be a really good use of time.
Oh, that's amazing. So, very important question. What is your team name?
We were supposed to be Team 1 because we're at Table 1. It was supposed to be WON, but apparently that didn't pass the censorship rules. So we're Team with the number 1, which isn't nearly as funny.
Yeah, your guys are number 1, right?
We're about 29 off of that.
So why don't you tell me what modules have you been working on today?
I did the initial module of trying to recover the website, so I felt it was pretty something kind of I was used to.
Yep.
I normally am an architect, so I don't have a lot of hands-on, so it's kind of fun to try to do it myself, and that went fairly well. We set up some automated load balancers in order to try to deal with the rather disruptive nature of the instances we were given.
Well, things happen. Everything breaks every day, right? So what is your team's approach to tackling these modules and to completing them?
As each one came up, a lot of us have sort of different backgrounds, so everyone kind of said, hey, is someone interested? Or in many cases, it was no one's ever done this before, but hey, I've always kind of wanted to know how that works. So right now I'm working on the continuous integration, continuous deployment module, something I want to bring to my institution. We don't do it at all.
Oh, really? Not at all?
Sadly, no. So it seemed to be a good opportunity to play with it.
So with the CI/CD module, what are the services that you've been working with?
Code build, code deploy. We're using some of the parameter groups to automate the configuration, and we've been using CloudWatch to try to debug what's going wrong.
And so, how can you see that how can you see that applying to your job outside of after your Tiger team and you have saved us all?
Right now, my organization's pretty early on its cloud journey, and one of the things we've noticed is if you really want to get the wins from the cloud, you have to do it the cloud way. And things like continuous integration. Right now, we're running our Amazon services way too close to how we run our on-prem. It's kind of a lift and shift approach for the early ones, and we really feel we'll get a much better ROI when we are building new instances, doing A/B kind of rollovers, and the continuous integration is a key part of that.
All right, and so out of this, so you're going to be bringing in CI/CD into your organization. Is there anything else that you have learned at Game Day that you're like, oh, that would be amazing?
I've always liked watching how these things work. We'll actually probably try to do a lower scale version of this, but it gives us the opportunity to try to build some simpler scenarios with a lot less cool automation than you guys did to get our own teams to get some real world experience.
Yeah, because really, like, the hands-on is really where you learn how things work and how to approach it. If you had some advice to past you and past team, what would you say to you?
Sorry, can you say it one more time? Sorry.
So now, now that what you know now, what's the advice that you would give your past you and your past team?
I would say that any organization that is considering a cloud journey, especially with Amazon, come to these kind of events. We migrated before we started getting involved in the partner community and the broader community, and the earlier you do that, the more successful you're going to be.
Great, and your approach in your team, what's the advice that you give to your team, knowing what you know now, and approaching the modules and how you come to it?
I think a lot of people got stuck in different pieces, and so everyone did kind of get their head down and got into it. And I think because there were a lot of small mistakes made, and it's in the real world, you get stuck on something you don't see,
right.
And I think it probably would have been better to do them a little more with at least pairs on each problem as opposed to trying to do them yourself.
So like the real world. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to us. I'm so glad that you're here and seemingly having a really great time.
And thanks for designing all of this.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Bye.
All right. So thank you to him. Back to you, Mandus at the booth.
I've been Mandus at the desk, I've been Mandus at the booth, I've been Mandus on the podium, I've pretty much been Mandus everywhere. But thank you very much, Aaron, on the floor. I've been pretty consistent with that being Aaron on the floor.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've seen some interesting comments coming in throughout the messaging board and while we were actually looking at while Aaron was doing interviews, and one of the interesting questions was. Oh, damn, I forgot. I lost that interview, that quick, the connection. Oh, no, it's actually a comment. They made a comment saying that we should probably host these game day events like on a monthly basis, right? And maybe open it up so that remote developers can also attend these type of events.
I think that'd be a really cool idea. We've talked about that with Twitch. Game days end up being really fun. You could go to an event where there's a workshop or a boot camp or a lab where you're following step-by-step instructions. There's someone leading you. And the difference with game day is that it's kind of open-ended. We throw the challenges at you, and it's up to you to figure out how to solve it.
Yeah.
It's really fun in a room. It'd be awesome to do it remote.
Yeah, do you think that's like something, because we want people to play in teams, how would we do that team dynamic if we have multiple remote people playing? How do we get them in teams and those type of things?
That's a good question and a good point. I think that one of the interesting things about this is from playtesting the games and playing them with small groups of people and working with a distributed team that built the game, some of the harder the part about this game and what makes it like sort of exciting and sort of nerve-wracking is being in the room with a bunch of other people and being sort of around this chaos. So if we were to do it remotely, I would hope we would find a way to like continue with the chaos.
Yeah, I know that Ian and Juan has already started working on that, and that they've wanted to try and pull us in on using something like a Slack channel or a Rocket Chat and make the teams capable of communicating with each other, even though they're completely dispersed over the world and someplace else. And I think that's something that will take place. We've integrated that this year already with GameDay.
Right.
We're giving hints and those type of things over Slack, and we have some of the modules interacting directly with Slack as well. So I hope that in the next iteration, and hopefully very soon, we'll be able to open these events over for multiple developers across the world. It'll be really cool if we can do an international game day.
Yeah, Game Day International. How do you think South Africa would do in that?
Oh, South Africa will crush it if we have power.
If you have okay.
South Africans will chuckle at that joke because they will totally get it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You're really painting the broad brush over here.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. Yeah, no, we'll do good. You know that Amazon EC2 is actually one of the places where it started out and where some of its major development happened was actually in Cape Town as well.
Yeah.
So we have a really big development center down in Cape Town. And we have a lot of smart engineers working there every day, and we have a really big contingent of really smart people. And I worked in Cape Town before I transferred to Seattle.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when you came, and I was in Cape Town earlier this year, which was pretty wild and different for me, and I got to meet like a whole bunch of other Manuses there, or people that talk like you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and they're great, right? They
were
people.
all right. Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
cool.
they're pretty good people. But I think that's one of the amazing things about Amazon and working for Amazon Web Services is the fact that we're such a big company, right? I mean, we've got offices all around the world, and I've had the privilege of traveling to a lot of these offices, doing things like game days and labs and workshops with our customers and our partners, and it's really amazing to see how our internal culture actually transfers from one location to another. Whether you go to one place or one office or to another office, we're all thinking the same way. We're all expecting the same thing. It's a really fantastic place to work.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. Like sort of the way people approach problems and talk about the customers, and also the dress code is always super casual.
So I just heard from our controlling team that we have the Game Day trophy coming in now. Earlier we told them about how big an issue it is and the security it is to get it here, right? Like, I mean, we had the Cloud Ninja here with us, so I think the control room is bringing up a shot of the trophy right now. I mean, it's so secure. I can't even see it. I don't know where it is. The trophy
Actually,
is
it's up there on the
trophy.
I can see the trophy on the podium. It's on the podium.
It's on the podium. Dave obviously has a lot better eyes than I do.
Well, it just might not be as large as what you're expecting it to be, but
it might not be. It might not be. But it's a very, very flamboyant trophy. Definitely. It's
it was handcrafted by one of the people on the team. Ian actually made that trophy.
He made the trophy?
Yeah, he made that trophy like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago.
Right, like with his bare hands?
Yeah, he's there's the trophy.
Yeah,
We're seeing this like delayed, so probably everybody saw it like minutes ago. But yeah, you could see the people's names on there. No, actually I bought the unicorn.
So it was a collaborative effort.
Yeah,
right? It was a collaborative effort.
It was a group that picked the unicorn, though.
It was a girl that picked the unicorn?
The group that picked the unicorn.
The group that picked the unicorn. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's a very flamboyant trophy. It's great, and I mean, it's a prized possession for all of us. I know I want that trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it hangs out in our office.
Definitely. Yeah. Even though you left us for a short while there, you went to another team, but I know that you're back now, right?
Yeah, it's really funny. I actually moved to a building across the street, and everyone thought I was like not in Seattle anymore.
I lost my lunch buddy. It was daunting, man. I was like
5 minutes away from you.
I was literally eating
literally
alone.
You could walk over and see me anytime.
I mean, it's a building away, man.
It's true.
Yeah. So the game day is coming to a close. We've got a couple of minutes left in the game, and we can really see, if you look at the back behind us, you can see people running around. At this point, we're actually seeing people trying to help each other out, right? We just got a question from one of our support engineers, or support assistants walking around, saying that, the one team provided the correct answer of a module to another team, but the other team keeps telling us that the module's answer is incorrect.
Yeah, so they were cheating.
And we're like, because each team's answer is unique, right? We're doing that for a reason. We don't want the other teams to help, or to cheat and give the correct answers to each other. And that's quite funny, because this is the funny thing about that is it's actually like the lower ranking teams trying to help out the higher ranking teams to get that extra push.
There's some favors that are being exchanged, I imagine.
I think they're putting up like a share time schedule for the trophy, right? The teams are now coming into a synergy, and they're kind of becoming a conglomerate. And also maybe from January to February, the one person can have it.
I mean, I think I made it quite clear. The trophy sits like in the.
But they don't know that yet.
Oh, they don't know that yet?
They don't know that yet, right? So this is Unicorn Rentals. Unicorn Rentals isn't very transparent.
We don't tell them anything. Okay.
Yeah, we don't tell them anything. We just give them like very vague instructions.
Yeah. Well, but they will get to take home unicorn stuffed animals, unicorn Band-Aids, unicorn stickers, other kinds of stuff that.
Yeah. Is the Band-Aids for the bruised egos?
That's a good one. We'll have awards for usually the top score, a team that sticks with it even if they had a rough day or didn't get a very high score. We have a award for the best name, so for a team that did a really creative name.
Yeah. We joke all about it, and we're all about how it's difficult to win and those things, and they don't get a trophy. But we are actually pretty equal when we get to the point where we need to give out prizes, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy when the prizes are just like a stuffed animal that costs less than $1. I mean, it's pretty
exactly
easy to give
right. So we're pretty equal with that, and we also do make it easy for people to win. Like, I mean, all you have to do is come up with a creative name, and that's the winner. So
yeah, though that's difficult for some people, I think. So
it's difficult to me.
I think we made it really clear this time. I mean, a lot of years past, we've had just names like Table 2. It's like, that is not a great name. Come on, give me something funny like.
I mean, it depends. Table 2 could be funny, right?
Yeah.
Isn't there a movie like Table 13 or something?
I think we had one last year where they tried to break the game by putting a bunch of emojis into the scoreboard.
Right, but we preempted this year, right?
Yeah,
we were ready.
We were ready.
We were ready, and we were doing it right this year. So we keep on getting people joining the Twitch stream, and they're going, "What event is this?" I mean, and that's great for us because it means that it looks exciting. But yeah, this is the game day event at reInvent, and it's only today. We don't have a repeat of it throughout the week. So if you have missed it today, unfortunately, you'll have to wait until next year. Or maybe we'll do
it at a summit, or as we've been talking about earlier, doing a remote game day.
The remote game days will be good, or a summit, or a pop-up bluff near you, right? Like, I mean, so keep on checking the AWS Events website. All of the game day events will be listed on the AWS Events website, and you can find out when and where these events will take place if you want to compete in one next.
And it's a real great way to get some hands-on experience with the AWS infrastructure, hear some terrible jokes, and hopefully have some fun. So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll bring the terrible jokes, you bring the fun.
Yeah, and we also bring the AWS infrastructure too.
We also bring the AWS infrastructure. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the great thing is you don't have to play this game in your own AWS infrastructure. We provide you with an AWS account, so you don't have to take out money and spend.
I kind of think that's kind of the best part, is that once you walk out this door, all that stuff just goes away, and you don't have to think about this again.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about cleaning up your account and taking all these things out, right? I mean, we do all that for you because you're not even playing in your own account.
Right.
You're playing, so you can literally, the only thing that you really need to bring is a laptop.
Right, and we've had people come without a laptop. It's made the game much more challenging for them.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I mean, how would they play that without a laptop?
Well, I mean, we had a game once where someone didn't bring the laptop, and we're like, hey, you probably need a laptop to play this because you can't use the AWS console without it. And they went out and bought one.
Right. So
and they won.
I think at this time,
they won, and then they returned the laptop at the end of the day. So.
At Costco?
Something like that.
That's actually pretty good. I mean, you have to admire that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's good. So Aaron on the floor has been waving at us here from the side. So Aaron, I think come and join us up here.
Are you gonna come up here?
I think the Twitchverse is pretty much tired of just watching me and Dave.
Oh, hi. Oh, is it because I'm short?
I don't know. I think that probably works better.
It's a trap.
Maybe I'm just trying to get off the camera.
This is Admiral Akbar. It's a trap.
Okay.
Just stay away from that.
I finally get to take my earpiece out.
Oh yeah, you do. You finally do. Yeah.
Oh, that was a lot of people were discussing like what that might be, like who you're getting information from.
Yeah.
Sky Command
That's
in the megastructure.
Yeah, Mandus. He's like the secret mastermind behind everything.
Yeah.
Oh, although I did hear that you guys had a discussion between Emacs and Vim or VI.
Yeah.
I have to say.
It was very clearly, definitively Emacs.
It
right?
was. There is a history here that we can prove that it was not Emacs.
Yeah, no, it's not in any universe.
It was not Emacs in any way. Hang on, we have something on the stage happening. So let's see what our CTO is saying.
Worked diligently. You've done all the tasks assigned. You've completed all the projects and all the bonus material. So I mean, kind of awkward, but we don't really need staff anymore now that the projects are completed. So thank you. But we are going to be doing the awards ceremony. So the scoreboard is frozen. Nobody's accumulating score anymore. Sit back. Relax, have a Red Bull, and just take it easy, because nothing's more relaxing than a Red Bull. Maybe a coffee and a Red Bull. But we're going to be doing some prizes. Have a little closing presentation in about 3 minutes. So hold tight.
So yeah, we're just back. That was our fearless CTO, Joe, that just informed us that we have 3 minutes left. The game is concluding in 3 minutes. So what should be going through the players' minds at this point in time?
I would be saying, like, all right, where is the beer right now?
It's right there in the corner, Dave. It's right there in the corner. Yeah. It's on tap and it's free.
Also trying to tighten up their modules and make sure that they can squeeze out as many
Right. If now is the time to try to get points in a legitimate manner by playing the game or by bribing someone, this would be the time to do it.
Bribing is definitely probably occurring widely as we speak.
Yeah, I would be surprised that there was no bribing going on right now. I'm not sure what they would bribe us with. I mean, it has to be a pretty high incentive for us to fall for it.
Yeah, maybe a unicorn band-aid or something.
I mean, I have a stock of unicorn band-aids. I am part of the management team.
Okay. I do have this really nice jacket on.
Oh yeah, that is really cool. It makes it very easy to find you on the floor.
Exactly, but it's also very hard to top, right? So what someone needs to offer you, for you to actually fall for a bribe.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. Another one of these jackets, or maybe even something shiny. I do like shiny things.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, everybody likes shiny things.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
shiny
of course.
things is just, it's fantastic.
So have you guys been reading the Twitch stream?
Yeah, and there's actually a really good question to get us back on track. What's an example of one of the modules? I mean, we've been talking about, Aaron and I built the big data module. You wrote all the code and I made the data. But that's a
He did all the fancy part, all the glamour.
Do you want to explain what the module's like?
Well,
Or
what do you
no?
mean by like?
Well, what's it like for a player to play it? What do you do in it?
So when the module opens up, it presents a question to a module player saying, I forget actually.
It says
what it
we
is.
found a bunch of data in this
Oh,
S3 bucket.
that's right.
And here's a question about it. It'll say like how many unicorns were rented at this time or something like that.
And then we also have some module readmes or directions, some sort of like manual to kind of help the players along, maybe give a little hints in somewhat story form
Yeah.
to maybe not tell them exactly what they need to do, but maybe indicate a possible best course of action to like get the
Right.
answers for the module.
And so for that module, the best course of action that we came up with would be to use glue to crawl that S3 bucket and build Athena tables.
Yeah.
And then after they have the Athena tables, it's just a matter of writing a bunch of SQL queries to be able to answer the questions that were in that module.
Right.
What I love about your module is again, like many of the others, there was no single one way to solve it. Right? I remember I
Right.
played your game and I did it without using glue, but that's because I know Athena really
Right.
well and know all the other services well. But it was great to see that you could approach this in different places. In different
Yeah, I
ways.
think that's what's kind of fun about this is that players will come at stuff and do something completely different than you would
Yeah.
expect. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
because really, like all the AWS services are kind of like building blocks. You can put them together in different ways to solve problems, and
And it's kind of like the real world, right?
Yeah.
You get a new project, you're like, we want to make this amazing thing. Well, how are we going to do it? Well,
Yeah.
let's see what we could do.
All right, well, I think we're going to do awards now, so
Oh,
let's go to them.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so thank you very much for watching, guys, and
thanks,
let's go to
everyone.
the award ceremony.
We're about to tell you here about it shortly.
Jared, are we doing a wrap up on Switch, or is it just that and then we're done?
We're going to do the wrap up after this.
What we want to do is start off by giving credit to the team that ended up on the top of the scoreboard. And so this would be the real, Intellas. Does that sound familiar to you guys? All right, come on up. So what we want to do is just kind of have you guys give us a rundown of what made you guys so successful throughout the day. What was something that think helped you guys be successful?
Sure. I think the biggest thing.
Double mics.
I think the biggest thing we did was everyone jumped in and grabbed their own area to work on. So everyone kind of contributed and kind of helped push all the different tasks.
Okay.
So.
Was there an area that you guys got kind of stuck on or stumped on or There you go.
I think we spent the last couple hours working on that 5 out of 4 bonus question.
Okay.
So that was the one where you have to query Athena to get the secret garbage data secret message.
Awesome. So you guys can go ahead and pick a prize, and then you guys are the proud winners of the Unicorn Trophy. You don't get to take it home. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and put your name on it. We'll take a photo with you guys once we finish with all the rest of the awards. So feel free to grab your prize. Thank you so much. I know you guys all want these fancy unicorn prizes. We have stickers, we have stuffed animals, coloring books.
Hey guys, we got to track down some tape for the statue, put your names on it. So if you guys want to hang out for a little bit, we'll figure it out.
All right. Well, congrats, team. So for the next award, we actually looked through the entire team, the tables of teams, trying to find the best team name. Kind of a combination of the funniest team and the most clever team name. And we settled on an old favorite here. So we want to award this best team name prize to the team My Little Ponies. So you guys can come up.
That's right. Round of applause. Are they here? Oh no. Is My Little Pony still here?
Yeah, I think they're making their way here.
Hand them my microphone, just ask them questions.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for coming up, and congrats again.
Thank you.
So, same question to you guys. So, what's the most exciting thing about the game that you guys had, and also what's the biggest challenge that you guys faced, and how did you solve it?
Take it. Getting to play with a lot of these new things I don't get to touch in everyday life. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
What was the service that you got to mess around with that you never touched before?
Lex.
Oh,
So
Lex.
I did
Nice.
the chat
Yes,
bot.
you did that?
and
Okay.
I use code deploy. I don't use code deploy, but I use Git and stuff all the time. So it was interesting to use code deploy and code commit.
Excellent. And the biggest challenge, like the thing that maybe like took the most of your time, and maybe you conquered it, maybe you didn't.
Yeah, we split off, and everybody took their own sections. The two front guys who are gone right now, but they were struggling with that last question with Athena.
Oh, the bonus question with
Yeah.
Athena? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. Feel free to take a prize here on the table.
All right, so the next award we have is the Comeback Award. So a team that was, working really hard and trying to continue to move forward in the game, and maybe we're struggling, but it finally clicked, and they were able to, make a comeback and kind of start racing up the scoreboard. And so for that, we have Team Corn Hub.
Hey, guys.
Awesome. So similar to the other teams, we want to figure out, what worked for you guys, what didn't work for you, what was something you learned?
We had very different skill sets, I would say. Working? I love flex. We had, I would say, different skill sets. Some were stronger in coding, some were stronger in architecting. We had a strong security guy on the team. And then one was just being the manager and kind of just...
Leadership.
Yeah, leadership, very important. He obviously did everything right.
There you go, flawless.
That would have been me. No, it was a lot of fun, and we loved all the new services that you may not get to play with in your day jobs, and it was really cool. Recognition, Athena, wow.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for playing today. I appreciate it. Feel free to grab your prize.
All right, so the last award we have here is the Sticking With It Award. Is Ryan? Wow, is the team Ryan with AP here? Yes, I think so. All right. So the history of this award is, when you're towards the bottom of the scoreboard, sometimes you kind of get a little frustrated, and this goes to the team who stuck with it. You hung out, and this is fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So just out of curiosity, what did you feel most strongly about with the game?
We liked playing with the new services, but we also had a language barrier between the rest of the team and me. So, yeah. It was easier to write to each other in Slack than talk, so that's what we did for most of our communication.
Yeah, well, we do that internally with our team anyway, so yeah, you're speaking our language. Yeah. This is why we don't pass notes either, yeah. You can't understand handwriting. But thank you. We have some great prizes here. Might I recommend the rubber ducks? They're a vintage, fine example of rubber duckiness.
Perfect. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
And I do want to highlight two people that were absolutely essential to this game today, and that's Juan and Ian. Without these two, we wouldn't have this game that we played today. They built the platform. They've put insane amounts of hours and blood, sweat, and tears into the game that really enabled this event to take place. But there's so many people that really helped with this. The module builders, the mini game builders, everybody that came out to support the event, all the volunteers that are here, and they're just so enthusiastic. And they just make for a fun experience working on this team, and I thank you all.
Awesome. So with that, we'll go ahead and just wrap it up. Again, thank you everyone for coming out today. We want to continue to make Game Day a better experience. We want to continue to improve it every time we build a new version for summits and re:Invent. So please do give us feedback. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like in the survey. We look forward to seeing you at the next Game Day. Thanks so much.
Oh, and just as an FYI, the beer should go until 7, so drink up.
Okay, and welcome back. Just from us, we're just going to wrap up. We want to thank
Yes.
you for being with us the whole day.
Thank you for watching.
I hope
Thank you.
we kind of kept you entertained. So from me, Mandis on the desk,
Aaron on the floor.
And Dave that's standing over here.
have a great re:Invent and see you guys next year.
Thank you.
All right, bye.